2024 regular meeting of the Paris City Council is hereby called to order at 5:30 p.m. For this meeting, there is a quorum of the council present. Item 2 and 3, Mr. Gene Anderson will deliver the invocation. The United States Pledge of Allegiance and the Texas Pledge of Allegiance will be led by Mayor Pro Tem Pankich. Please rise.
Pray. Dear Heavenly Father, we're so grateful for all that you do for us each and every day. Many times we don't even realize that you've interceded on our part. And Father, we just thank you and praise you. And we pray for your guidance and leadership tonight as we conduct the city's business. We pray that all might be done orderly and, Father, in a way that glorifies you. For we ask these things in Jesus' name. Amen.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Honor the Texas flag. I pledge allegiance to thee, Texas, one state, under God, one and indivisible.
Item number 4, the Citizens Forum. Persons desiring to address the council must limit their presentation to no more than 2 minutes. Unless an item is posted on the agenda, the Texas Opening Meeting Act prohibits council from responding to any comments other than to refer a matter to a future agenda, to an existing policy, or to a staff person with specific factual information. Claims against the city council members or employees, as well as individual personnel appeals, are not appropriate for Citizens Forum. If necessary, the City Council may convene into executive session under Chapter 551 of the Texas Government Code regarding any items on this agenda. The public forum is now open. If there is anyone who wishes to address the council, please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, the Citizens Forum is now closed. Consent agenda. Items on the consent agenda are approved for a single action of the council, with such approval applicable to all items appearing on the consent agenda. A council member may request any item to be removed from the consent agenda and consider it as a separate item. Does any member wish to remove any item from the consent agenda for discussion? If not, is there a motion to approve all items on the consent agenda?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor say aye.
Aye.
All opposed say no. Motion carries. Regular agenda, item number 11. Discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on a resolution authorizing the city to be eligible to participate in the property tax abatements and approving guidelines and criteria for granting tax abatements in the city of Paris. Staff?
Yes, these are the abatement guidelines and criteria for our industrial type tax abatements. And if you'll recall, we have to adopt those every 2 years to be compliant with the state requirements. And it's just that time. It's our time, our biannual time to adopt our tax abatement guidelines and criteria. So our recommendation is that you make a motion to approve the resolution adopting the criteria.
I will open the public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak about this item to please come forward and state your name and address for the record. I see none. I will now close the public hearing. Is there any discussion? All right, I hear a motion.
Any changes on the new abatements? Or is it the
No,
same as 2022?
These are the same.
Okay, will I hear a motion?
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 12, discuss, conduct a public hearing, and act on a resolution reauthorizing the city to become eligible to participate in the residential tax abatements related to the 5 and 5 housing infill redevelopment program and readopting the guidelines and criteria. Staff?
Yes, if you'll recall, we did this program, the 5 and 5 program, last January. And again, when you have tax abatements involved in any kind of program, you have to readopt those every 2 years. The program's been very successful so far, so our recommendation is that you readopt those guidelines within the 5 and 5 program, and we haven't adapted those or edited them anyway.
I will open the public hearing and ask for anyone wishing to speak about this item to please come forward and state your name and address for the record. Seeing none, I will close the public hearing. Is there any discussion?
I've asked Mr. Vine to to give you guys a few stats real quick if you'd like, so
Okay.
Mr. Vine.
Mr. Vine?
Mayor Pro Tem Council, good evening. As of this date, we have 8 total agreements with the city, between city managers, or, excuse me, between the city and developers, which is a total of 29 parcels. We have, to date, 22 housing units completed, and 43 housing units are still pending. That means we have 17 building permits have been issued, 15 projects are completed, and 2 are active. The permits are for 9 single-family homes and 8 duplexes, and 15 properties have not yet started. Once all 8 agreements have been fulfilled, we will have the following total: 16 single-family homes, 15 duplexes or 30 dwelling units, 1 triplex or 3 dwelling units, and 1 multifamily apartment of 10 dwelling units, for a total of 65 dwelling units. And if I could bring up Mr. Duke McGee as well. It will like to show you on our GIS map on our website where these houses are, where the dwelling units are, and how you can keep up with it.
Yeah, I was going to ask that question, but okay, thank you.
And while he's doing that, I'll say that I posted another one today. So you'll be seeing another one next month.
Yeah, so we have seen the program be rather successful. These are potentially 60 units that possibly would not have been built without the program, so it is making a little difference.
So to view the projects and project status as far as building permits issued, if you go to the city website and click on MyGov, to the GIS map, and in the layers section right here, you can turn on that 5 and 5 infill building, and it'll show you right where the location of each one of the building permits has been issued on the program is. You can click on the address, view information, and it'll give you the status and, what it is, total number of dwelling units, location, and if it's completed or still active. And that'll be real time as building permits are issued. This will be updated automatically.
Does it give us information of who is heading the project, what individual or what company?
No, but it does give you the resolution number. If you see right there, it says 5 and 5 resolution number 2022-032. That is information. If that's something that we can post, I can have that added to that.
And I can always send you an agreement at any time, just holler at me.
That's what I was getting to. Thank you.
Also, and I don't have this precise information on me right now, but I can get that to you. We actually, if there's any agreement that has a 380 component to it, and the 5 and 5 does, the part about the building permits and the fees and the sewer taps and all that, I have to upload that to the comptroller's office, and that's available for anybody. Can look on the comptroller's website for those.
I'll also note that we've not proposed any changes to the language right now, but we are undergoing a housing study, and part of the housing study that will include recommendations for policy changes, and we've received their policy, and having talked to the consultant, they may recommend some changes at that time. So instead of making changes now, our recommendation is that we wait until the housing study is complete and then use those recommendations to guide this and other policy changes we may have. But in the meantime, our recommendation is to continue as written.
And we can amend them anytime we like. We don't need to wait 2 years to amend them if we need to.
Is there any further discussion? Right, we'll hear a motion.
I move that we approve agenda item 12 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye. Aye. All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 13, discuss and act on a request from the Girl Scouts of Northeast Texas to build a pavilion on the Lake Gibbons property. Mr. Vine?
Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, good evening again. As you're aware, the city has partnered with the Girl Scouts for several years, well over 20, for a property on Lake Gibbons to host their Camp Gamble. We are currently in a 5-year lease, which could renew for another 5 years if we so choose. The Girl Scouts, their property out there received some damage due to the tornado last year. They're asking for written permission to give their general contractor to make some repairs to the boathouse. Also, they'd like to repair and/or replace the current septic system, and they'd also like to construct a waterfront pavilion, which would be a 679 square foot structure. It would have an open air area for picnic tables, and then also storage for life vest and different equipment. The current lease does not make any reference to building structures on the property. However, it is the understanding, albeit perceived, between the scouts and the city, that anything that would be built, improvements that would be made, would be left with the property. They're asking for a letter of permission to do this, and staff is recommending it. If city council so chooses to allow them to do this, the letter would clearly stipulate that anything that is improved upon, built upon, or constructed on the property stays with the property, should the lease be discontinued at any point. But again, we are recommending that we continue to work with the Girl Scouts and allow them to construct this waterfront pavilion.
Is there any other discussion on this? All right, I hear a motion.
I move to approve item 13 as presented.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All
Thank you.
opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, Mr. Bond. Item number 14, discuss and act on a resolution in support of the Red River Valley Veterans Memorial Museum, Inc. Application to the U.S. Army Tank Automotive Armaments Command for command equipment for static display at the memorial located at 2035 South Collegiate Drive, and granting approval of the installation at this site. Staff?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council, the Red River Valley Veterans Memorial has been expanding. They've added a few pieces of combat equipment, static equipment for display. They are looking to apply for more of the U.S. Army Tank Automotive and Armaments Command for more equipment. Should it become available, one of the requirements you saw in the packet is they need permission of the landowner in their application. And so the request is that we would authorize addition of equipment, static display combat equipment for the land. Mr. George Wood is here tonight. I've asked him just to say a few words if he would.
Mr. Johnny Williams.
And Mr. John Williams, yep, he's here too, yep.
Well, I'd like to, thank the Mayor Pro Tem, and the City Council members for listening to this proposal. Of course, you have to agree to allow us to have this equipment. It will not cost the city anything. We have to incur all the expenses and everything getting it put out there, and we try to make everything look good and be a good representative for the city of Paris and all the visitors that come in. And I appreciate you considering this.
So our recommendation is approval. And there is a resolution tied to that.
Is there any discussion? All right, I hear a motion.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 15, receive a presentation on the status of the Celebration Paris Senior Living Housing Project. Discuss and act on a resolution supporting the project and partnership between Celebration Paris and Paris Housing Authority. Staff?
Yes, Mayor Pro Tem, members of council. Back in February 14, 2022, so almost 2 years ago, City Council passed a resolution supporting J.H. Parish Realty LP's proposal for a 9% federal tax credit. The goal is to build Celebration Paris, which is a multifamily affordable elderly rental housing program under state and federal requirements. So they were approved that back in September 2023. I'm sorry, before that. But in September 2023, they approached my office and stated that due to economic issues, interest rates, construction costs, and so forth, the project became infeasible as it currently stood. So the request was that we introduce them to the Paris Housing Authority in order to join into our partnership, whereby the Housing Authority would own the land, and then they would then lease it out to J.H. Parrish Realty, Celebration Paris, to construct and manage the facility. This would then allow them to be tax exempt. As you know, Paris Housing Authority, they are tax exempt for the city. And so, and they are in need of additional units. They have a lengthy list of individuals needing more housing. We need more housing in Paris, and this group here has federal tax credits ready to go to build a structure. So from the onset, it looked like a good project, good partnership to go into. This would be an agreement. This would be an agreement between those two entities, Housing Authority and JH Realty. It would not be an agreement with the city. At the same time, the Texas Department of Housing and Community Affairs expects that before they sign off on it, they want to see the city itself sign off on it. And so with that, it is my understanding we have representatives here from Celebration Paris as well as the Housing Authority. And so I'd like to first have Alan Knoll from the Celebration Paris come and give you a presentation. And Ms. Liz Brooks, if you have any words you'd like to say after this, please come forward after that. So,
Mouse.
yes, here you go. I'll have to make this thing started here. All right, there we go. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm Alan Knoll, 522 Country Lane in Coppell, just right outside of Dallas. As some of you might remember when we went through this a couple of years ago, I've spent a lot of time here over the years. My grandfather was a Baptist minister here for 50 years. Whenever I drive in, I drive right past his old house on 82 and by 27th Street. So we've worked really hard to try and keep this deal alive. We've done a few things, and I'll go quickly. I know we've got a lot of other right little thing to go forward here. There we go. So the location is basically just to the east of the Walmart. So some of the things we've done to try and get the cost back in line, make it a little more efficient. We started off as a single-story design. We've gone to a multi-story, a 3-story plan. It's just more efficient, fewer pieces of lumber needed. And what we've also found is it really works better for seniors. It's all enclosed. To go to activities, you don't have to get outside if it's weather like it is tonight. You just go up and down the elevator. So we're really excited about it. The front 2 parcels are not part of the tax credit development, but it will sort of unlock those for commercial development. We think it's a great commercial site as Paris expands. And as Grayson said, by partnering with the Housing Authority, we feel like it's really helpful to the project. In long term, the project after the lease will revert to 100% ownership of the Housing Authority. It's important to understand it won't be operated like a typical housing authority where it will be all Housing Authority residents, but as a tax credit project, we're required to take vouchers. So we'll work closely with the Housing Authority. So it'll be a mixture. Some folks will have vouchers. Some folks will just pay us directly. It's very affordable. It varies a little bit depending on people's income, but the general rental rates are probably average around $700 a month for a brand new apartment with a full kitchen, lots of activities, all of that. So this is sort of our new site plan. It also leaves us more green space, less drainage, a lot of good things. This is the current drawing of it. I've also brought in a partner that's done a lot of these smaller rural developments in Texas. They're actually based in Atlanta. And Brett Keene here is the partner we're dealing with. We took a little field trip. The mayor was able to join us and some of the board members from the Housing Authority. Their company's just opened a very similar project in Henderson, multi-story. We toured it. I think people saw the quality and the happy residents that were out there. So basically, that's our strategy. We think by making all these changes and with a little help from the interest rates have been coming down a bit, that it's sort of gotten back in line. So we need to go back to the board of the state agency that administers the program and get them to approve the changes. But as Grayson said, if we have the city on board with sort of a recommendation or a support letter, knowing that it's going to be tax exempt, they don't want cities to get surprised if things change. So that's really where we are, and be happy to answer any questions.
Well, I just have a couple. I know you said that the process, I know you're partnering with Housing Authority, but your process of getting tenants would be a little different than the housing authorities would do. So it being partners with the Housing Authority, what policies would you have to go by, as far as being in a partnership with them?
So, and they can speak to it a bit as well. The good thing is any project that gets federal tax credits, they're obligated to follow all of the very similar types of access provisions. So we'll be operating it. So the Housing Authority will be the owner, not the manager. So we'll be vetting the tenants and going through the same process. And we'll take vouchers that are administered by the Housing Authority, but it'll really just be operated like a private apartment complex. But we are governed by very rigid standards from the state and the federal government in terms of the maximum amount that we can charge for rents. It's all set by a formula that's based on the county income. So I think it will follow all the standard federal and state guidelines. I'd say it's just different because most of the time when housing authorities own a property, they manage it day to day. They do the maintenance, they do the leasing, they deal with that. But our sort of a public-private partnership, I guess, is the best way I could describe it.
So, I think it's a great idea. You get, it's almost like the Housing Authority gets a new complex.
Absolutely.
Yes.
Without necessarily having to pay for it, but I think it's going to be good. And it's really, I hear people say low-income housing all the time, but this is truly low-income, in my opinion, or the closest thing to it.
Well, and what I like about it, it's a great public-private thing. It's been around since President Reagan. It's one of the few things every year that both sides agree on, because it really is, it's built and managed through private enterprise, which keeps the cost down, but it fulfills a real need that we all have. And it's just to give you an order of magnitude, that the dollar amounts of these federal tax credits is about $13 million, that if we can't use them here, they sort of go back in the pot and we'll go to a different city down the road. So it really is the only way that you can build something with the cost today and keep the prices low. Without that government money, it just doesn't work.
Right. Thank you.
Could you speak on the age requirement and if Medicaid and Medicare is affected by that?
Sure. So it's 55 and older is the standard. That used to seem really old. Now it seems young, but it has no effect. It doesn't negatively impact anyone's eligibility for Medicaid or Medicare. Our main business, we're in the nursing home business primarily, so we deal with Medicaid and Medicare a lot and have to navigate through all that. But really, as long as people, they have to make enough money to sort of, pay the rent. They can't make too much money. So there's it really is a pretty big slot that a lot of people fit into if they make below the amount that they can afford themselves. If they have a voucher through the Housing Authority, then they can do just like they do with any other portable voucher, and they can go to a brand new apartment. We've seen this has another really positive effect, and it's when these new ones are built, it forces some of the operators of older junky facilities to either fix up. That's the fair market part of it. They either have to fix up or they'll lose tenants who'll want to move to something newer for the same price. So it'll also encourage other folks, we think, to make some improvements on theirs in order to, keep up.
So, correct me if I'm wrong, the housing authority will give out vouchers. Is it a certain amount, number, that the housing authority will give out?
Well,
Or is it a
the
limit?
best way I can describe it, sorry to interrupt you,
It's okay.
is they give out vouchers already, so it doesn't really affect that. There is a program which we're not working on that are vouchers that are specifically for a project. They're called project-based vouchers. So we're not asking for any of those. We're just going to compete with all the other apartment complexes in Paris. So they're called portable vouchers. So if a family wants to move, and a lot of seniors, as they get older, it's just a more comfortable place to live where there's only seniors. It's a little quieter and there's more activities geared to them. So they can move from whichever place they want to move to and from on their own. So we're just competing with everybody else for either people paying us directly or we do take the vouchers if they have a voucher.
Thank you.
Sure.
I had a question and a comment. I'll start with the comment and lead into the question. One, you started off saying that you had taken a lot of time to plan this out and you've stuck through. And so I want to say thank you for really sticking with this project and having faith, not only in the project, but our community. I think more developers, it's good to hear that. It's good to hear that. And so we want that. We want that. We want to continue with that. And so this is a community that's thriving and you clearly see the vision. We want
Sure.
to continue that. So appreciate that. The question that I have is, this looks like a wonderful project and I'm all for it. What does a timetable look like in regards to breaking ground to finish and
Sure.
getting tenants moved in?
So our time frame is that after we get through tonight, and if we're successful with what we need to do here, then we will reapply to, well, reapply is the wrong word. We have to send in a kind of a change request to the state agency. They meet once a month down in Austin. So once we send them our information, they'll go check over everything and then they'll put it on their agenda for a board meeting. Just coincidentally, which is just a crazy world, in fact, the newest board member actually lives here in Paris, of all the places in the state. So I feel like our chances it'll be well received. We're not the only ones struggling with this. Because of COVID, anyone who's in the development or construction business can tell you, things that were priced before COVID, it's a completely different world. Interest rates are crazy. So I would predict almost everyone in the state, well, I know for a fact, this deal was approved in 2022. Almost every single project went and asked for a one-year extension, including us, to give themselves a time to figure out what to do. A lot of folks are partnering with housing authorities. This COVID's going to be great for housing authorities because it's sort of brought the parties together. So to answer your question, after we get that approved, I don't know which board meeting we'll be on, but they have them every month and it takes them a little while to process. Then what we have to do, we've got some conceptual drawings. We need to go, like any project, and get everything approved with the city for a building permit. So we'll work with the staff. And I'll say this too. One of the reasons we've stuck with this, the staff has been so great to work with. And, we can tell, this project is wanted. And you guys probably know this, but you've got a terrific staff great customer service, very, very user-friendly. I think there's lots of good things that are going to happen with Paris, and you guys are in a great position. So we want to be a little part of that. So as soon as we can get our building permit, we're ready to, start construction. We'll also be, oh, here we go. Hold on a second. Let me see if I can go back for a second. This is the project that we toured that's in Henderson. Again, it's a slightly different color, but basically the same footprint. In terms of, here we go. Here we go. But the project will build this road that will open up to these two commercial sites. So all that will be done at once. We don't have buyers lined up yet for the commercial sites because we sort of have to get the big project going first. So it usually, depending on weather, it's about a 14-month construction time frame. So that's really the timeline.
Thank you. On that map that you have, can you fill us in a little bit on the plans and timelines for the single-family addition on the north side?
Sure. So in terms of that, and if you, I'll refresh your memory on that too. So when we got it rezoned, the rear portion behind the little dash yellow line, that's still zoned agricultural. So there's been no plans for that. We would have to come back. We're really not single-family developers. So my guess is when the market is ready to support more single-family construction, there are ways to tie in the other streets and do some different things. And it seems like it would be a good place for additional housing, but it's just all going to be driven by the market. But we'd come back to Plan Commission and City Council with the plan that would deal with that. There are a lot of nice trees back there, and I think, anything that gets developed would have a lot of good comments from the neighbors on what they would think. But there's no plans for it today, and it's just ag, so I guess there could be a steer or something back there. I don't know. I was going to say a longhorn, but that may be too fresh from all that. So, yeah, I don't want to go there.
Did you say how many units that y'all plan to build? I may have missed that.
I don't think I did, but the answer is 60.
Okay.
Part of when we started, I think we were shooting for 76, and as we've tried to get all the numbers to work, 60 I think is the magic number that it's the most efficient.
Okay, thanks.
All right, is there any other further
We
questions?
also have Ms. Brooks, too, to speak as well, if you don't mind. So, yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Mayor Pro Tem, Council. I'm Liz Brooks. I'm with the Paris Housing Authority, the Executive Director, new Executive Director. So to piggyback off of what he said, yes, we are partnering with them, but I feel like maybe we are not partnering with them on the building of the place. We're partnering with them as the landowners, and that purpose gives them the tax exemption for that section that we are going to own, which is that back middle section there. I think you said it was like 8 acres. Yes. 8 acres-ish. So what our partnership is going to be when we get everything written up, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, but the way we have kind of talked about and agreed is this project's going to be run just like your town park is for multifamily. They put in an application, it's ran there, they get tax credits for their units based on their income, or they can rent it at fair market rent. We have a few others that are senior living, Parish Retirement Village, which is out there by the Housing Authority, and Residences on Stillhouse, which is down past the hospital. They've worked very similar to this. However, we do have a ton of tenants in those complexes, and what those complexes have done is they've put in applications for Section 8. Like their tenants, they've worked with their tenants to put in applications when we open the waiting list. So that part is not going to change with the Housing Authority. We're not going to have a separate waiting list for this project. They're going to do all the managing, the waiting list, and all that stuff by themselves. However, we, in our partnership, asked that they could give our voucher participants a preference. So that would mean that, and I'm not, we haven't ironed out the details of that part yet, but in my mind, what it means is that if someone comes in without a voucher and someone comes in with a voucher and there's one apartment, then our tenants should get the first choice, or, first one offered. So, and we do that at the Housing Authority with preferences for elderly and veterans. So we do have a few of that policies and stuff written up that we can work with. But as far as our people are going to move in there first, that's not how it's going to work. They're going to have to go through us to get the voucher and then be on their waiting list. So it's not going to, we're partnering with them, but it's not as directly as I feel like maybe y'all kind of thought it might be. So I wanted y'all to understand the whole kit and caboodle, the whole aspect of it. But we are very, very excited to be a part of it. We need housing for sure, and we are working with these awesome guys to help our city get that done. So thank you all for listening.
So
Yeah.
Liz, will the qualification, disqualification process that the Housing Authority goes by, will they have to go by that as well, or no?
Yes.
They will, okay.
Yes, because it will be just like any other Section 8 voucher. They go through our qualifications to get our voucher, and then they have to put their name on their list and fill out their applications. So, yeah, so it could be a little, and actually apartment complexes are much more strenuous than the housing authorities.
Okay.
Yeah, so they do have to go through both. So, and then that complex will have the same rights as any other landlord. Just because we are partnering with them doesn't give them any different aspects of things, so.
Is there any other questions for Ms. Brooks?
Thank you, Liz.
Thank you all.
Thank you.
So I'll just close again. Again, this is an agreement between the Housing Authority and Celebration Paris. But given this goes back to the tax credit, the state will want to know what our thoughts are. And I'd like to also point out in my memo, in the budget section, I did note that just good FYI for us, the way this would impact the city is also we would be going from a taxed property to a tax exempt property. But again, should the Housing Authority ever expand, that'd be the same case in those situations as well. So this would be, we'd be getting 60 new units for our citizens here. It'd be senior living. So we as staff, we feel this would be an appropriate project to support if the council would do that.
So we're just offering our blessing, pretty much? Okay.
Yeah, we have a resolution tonight to that effect.
And it's basically asking, or it's basically expressing the city's support.
Okay.
Is there any further discussion? Will I hear a motion?
I move that we approve a resolution supporting the project in partnership between the Celebration Paris and the Paris Housing Authority.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 16, discuss and act on amendment number 3 to the agreement for the professional engineering services with Garver for the wastewater treatment plant project.
Mayor Pro Tem, City Council, as you were presented at the December meeting, Phase 2 design is complete, and we have before you tonight, you're seeking your authorization for amendment number 3 to the agreement with Garver for professional engineering services. Everything in this scope of work for amendment number 3 is associated with construction package 2. All previous amendments to the Garver agreement were specific to construction package 1. So in order to proceed, we're requesting your authorization of amendment number 3. I'll be happy to answer any questions you may have regarding this amendment. And also Justin Rackley is representing Garver. He's in the audience tonight. So if you do have any question, we'd be happy to answer those.
Is there any discussion? Will I hear a motion?
Make a motion to approve item 16 as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Thank you, sir.
Oh, and the next one
Okay.
too.
Item number 17, discuss and act on the purchase of the replacement pump for Campbell's Lift Station in the amount of $109,775.14. F.
Council, it's me again. So Campbell's Lift Station, and just to be clear, we only call this Campbell's Lift Station because of its location in proximity to Campbell Soup. It's owned by the city of Paris. This is one of our larger lift stations in the city. We have one small pump and two larger pumps located at this lift station. One of the larger pumps has failed. It's been in service approximately 38 years, so we have received an appropriate amount of service out of this pump. Unfortunately, the manufacturer does not have this pump in stock, so there will be a 6-month lead time to actually build this pump from scratch. So I'm here tonight asking for your authorization to purchase this pump, and we will pay for this from ARPA funds. I'd be happy to answer any questions you may have.
So where is this lift station exactly?
It's actually adjacent to Campbell Soup property. It's
Which
right off
way?
of, it's right north of Northwest Loop 286.
Okay. Trying to picture
You know
it.
where the entrance is off the loop to Campbell Soup.
Yeah.
If you keep heading west, I'd say approximately half a mile, we have a small access road that goes back to the north, and you drive about a quarter of a mile from the
that
loop, and you're going to find that lift station there.
Okay. 40 years is a long time, 38.
It's a long time.
Yeah, it's a long time.
Yeah.
It's longer than some of us have been alive.
Yeah, and, you know, and I'd like this explained, and maybe, Grayson, maybe you should do it. You know, when we were tearing down the Belford building and we were talking about the ARPA funds and things, could you explain exactly what the ARPA funds, how we get those and what those are for? So, you know, I want it for the record.
Yeah, those are the American Rescue Plan Act. That was a part of the federal COVID money given to the cities and states across the country. Each city was allotted a certain amount based off population, and so we were given, I don't remember how much, 5 million, I believe, or Gene? Yeah, between 5 and 6, and so we received that in 2 allotments a couple of years ago, and we've been using those funds to try to make big changes on our big investments. Again, not the rainy day pothole type stuff, but things that make a big difference, like the Belford.
Yeah.
And we've been installing water lines with those. We've been a lot of big things that normally we would not be able to do, but for these extra funds. Now we are proposing to use those funds here for this. We do have water and sewer funds, but as we know, we're trying to be careful with those. Cash flow is important for us in that fund for rate purposes, and so talking about this, we felt that it'd be appropriate. Since again, this wasn't budgeted, this wasn't planned for. It kind of happened. We would tap into those American Rescue Plan funds to make this happen.
Yeah, so when we say we're using the ARPA funds, it's not necessarily city tax money or
Oh, no.
budgeted money. So it's American Rescue Plan money.
Yeah.
I think some people in the community or citizens kind of got that mixed up, especially with the Belford building. It was actually ARPA funds. So I just
Yes,
wanted to
the ARPA
clarify
funds.
that.
And, I mean, technically, it comes from
Well,
taxpayers, but again,
Yeah,
nationwide.
But it's not city.
It's
yeah.
nationwide. It's not property tax. It's not their sales tax. It's not anything people here pay 100% of. And so it's money that we
Right.
were given. Every city was given. So,
Yes.
but we've been getting a lot of cool things done with those funds. A lot of big things done. And again, that's all laid out in the budget. If anyone ever likes to learn more, we've got it in our budget sheets, and I'd be happy to meet people, talk more about it.
Thank you.
All right, is there any further discussion? All right, thank you, Mr. Harris.
All right.
I hear a motion?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
All opposed, say no. Motion carries 7-0. Item number 18, receive quarterly report on the demolition projects.
Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem, Council, let me get this pulled up.
Mr. Talley.
Okay. There we go. I'm going to give y'all just a brief rundown of the demolition process, how a structure is presented to the commission, basically what what happens before that process, what happens during a Building Standards Commission meeting, and then what it takes afterwards to demolish. And then at the very end, I will give you the quarterly report, which will be the first quarter of this budget year, which was October, November, and December of 2023. Identifying substandard structures, there's two basic ways that we do it. Proactive, which is code enforcement. We actively look for substandard structures when we're working any cases. We also have city employees in other departments that when they spot them, they will identify them for us. And then obviously the other is reactive, which is when the citizens call in a complaint. I'm sure you guys have got the complaints too. It's just, there's a bad house in front of us. We go check it out. If it meets the criteria, we will take it to building standards. Before a substandard structure can be presented to the Buildings and Standards Commission, first step is to determine if the structure is substandard. This is a very important process. These are just a few of the criteria. If you see holes in the roof, if you have foundation damage to where a structure is sinking, it's got missing and deteriorated wood, a lot of times, there'll be sections of the outer covering, whether it's the masonite siding or brick, if it's cracked. Those are the general things that we look for. Some of the things that we can't do is if, somebody says, well, it's a really ugly house. We can't condemn something just because of its looks alone. It has to meet a certain criteria, and that's all set by state law. The next step is we have to identify the owner and or lien holders. We do this by checking with the appraisal district and checking with the county clerk. The last part of that is we have to notify the owners and the lien holders of intent to condemn. Now, I'm mainly talking about the demolition because that's what this quarterly report is, but that also goes for securing a structure, repairing a structure. There's several different things that the city can order. During that process, we initially place an orange sticker on every structure. And it basically just says this is a dangerous structure, you can't use it. It also says don't remove the placard, and also says nobody should be going in and out of it. Next, we send a violation notice to the owner and the lien holders. And the last step is that we publish the violation notice in the Paris News. And that process, I'm sure you guys have seen it, it basically just tells everybody in the Paris News that the city has the intent of condemning this structure or putting repair orders. We have a Buildings and Standards meeting. It tells you the location, the date, and the time. And it's in case that the appraisal district had the address wrong, if they get the paper or if they have an online service, they can see it and be like, oh, hey, that's my house. I need to go or contact code enforcement. Okay, next we'll talk about the actual condemnation, presenting a structure to the Building Standards Commission. The first step is that staff will present photos and commentary to the commission regarding the structures and make a recommendation. Usually this, I'll have the pictures, I will go through the pictures, I will explain to the commission why I feel that this structure should be condemned. After that, the commission will ask me questions. I'll answer everything that I can. But then it also gives the opportunity to an owner or a lien holder to present their side of the story because they may have just bought it and they have every intention of fixing it. A lot of times they come up and they just say, there's no way that I could ever fix this house. I agree that it needs to be demolished, and they'll actually support the city in agreeing that it needs to be demolished. The last step in that process is the commission will deliberate and place orders on the structure. Again, we're talking about demolition orders. I will tell you that 80 to 90% of everything that goes through Buildings and Standards, it is for demolition. The other percentage is for securing a structure or repairing a structure. Every once in a while, we have a removal of a structure, which would be some people will buy, it's actually meant to be a storage shed, but it's like they make them look like a little tiny house. We know those are illegal in Paris. Well, when they set them up, we have to have them removed. Okay. Next is the procedure for demolishing a structure after condemnation. First thing we do is the orders of the Buildings and Standards Commission are sent to the owner and lien holder and are filed with the county clerk. Next, the orders are published in the Paris News. I went ahead and put this number out here for you. The budget that's approved for demolition is not only for the demolition of structures. It's also for your newspaper publishings and to file any kind of paperwork at the county clerk. The county clerk, per structure, you're looking at filing a minimum of 2, which is going to be your one order and then your lien if they don't pay for the demolition. But I did want to bring this up because, as you can see, last year, and we had 10 meetings in 2023. So that's basically a $2,582, bill every month just to have a buildings and standards process. That's just to get these things to where it's legal to tear them down. The next step is once the allotted time given to demolish a structure, and I will tell you that's usually 30 days, that is a minimum requirement set by state law. So no matter what, to demolish a structure, you have to give 30 days. We can't just say you've only got 10 days. State law says you have to give them 30 days. During that, they also have the right to appeal that. And that's the checks and balances that the state sets up to where if the commission says tear down your house and the owner says, I just do not agree with this, I don't think I should have to tear down my house, they can appeal it to a district court. Okay? So once the allotted time, has passed and there's no appeal to the district court, then we request a service removal from Encore and Atmos. And that's basically to demolish a house. Atmos has to kill the gas service at the street. It's not just about removing the riser. They have to call in locates and they dig it up because during that process, when the trackhoe or the bulldozer is pushing through that, when they dig underneath the soil, if they don't kill it at the street, they've got gas going up to that stub out. Even though the meter's gone, that stub out has still got gas. Well, if that's, knocked over, we have to call fire department, call Atmos, get all them over there and do that. The other thing of that is Encore. And again, with Encore, this is not just removing a meter. They have to actually kill the service, which is from the pole to the house, because that is a steel cable going down, and if that part is not done, if the house was pushed down, it will pull over the electric pole. The next step is we send a final noncompliance notice to the owner and lien holder. And that basically just says, you were given time, you didn't do it, so now the city of Paris, we are going to demolish your house. Once the utility services are removed, the structures will be placed on the demolition list. After the structure is demolished, a bill will be sent to the property owner and or lien holder. If the bill is not paid, a lien will be filed at the county clerk. Just wanted to go over, this is the results of the Buildings and Standards Commission. I've got some bigger numbers and then I'll pare it down into the quarterly report. But from 2020 to present, approximately 193 structures have been presented to the Building Standards Commission for demolition. Now, that's solely for demolition. That's not the repair orders or the secure orders. In that same amount of time, 133 structures have been demolished from the orders of the Building Standards Commission. There are currently 60 structures remaining on the demolition list. I will tell you, I think at one point right after Grayson started, I think we had about 130 to 140 on that list. We are really making a lot of headway on this. And a lot of that is because your dedication as a council to giving code enforcement more budgeted money. Every year that Mr. Path has been here, we've got an increase. And we're down to 60 structures on the list, and I'll tell you, I think we're actually at 58, and it may be 57 because I know that even though we're at the first part of January, Our demolition contractors, they're really going at it. I know they've got 2 houses in January, but I'm thinking it may be 3. The city of Paris demolished 51 structures during the 2022-23 budget year. Okay? So basically from October 2022 to September 30th of 2023, the city was responsible for demolishing 51 structures. The city of Paris has demolished 16 structures in the first quarter of 2023, the 2024 budget year, which is October, November, and December of 2023. I've put a list there of those 16 structures. I think you can see they're spaced out all over town. As you guys know, we've presented this to you before. We do have a criteria system, and basically the top priority are any burnouts or anything on a main thoroughfare, and especially like if you have a burnout on a main thoroughfare, that's going to get, prioritized. We try to get that to the top of the list. But that being said, we also try to use, we try to get the most bang from our buck with our demolition contractor for speed-wise. If we tear down a high-priority house, if there's one that's 1 block over and it may be a medium priority, we're going to send them over there to get that one too, because it's more efficient to do it that way than to try to, let's go here and then go to another part of town and another part when we're right there. Currently, I think they have 14 work orders, and then obviously the 60 that are on the list. Most years in December, we do not have a Buildings and Standards, commission meeting. But that actually gives staff the time to catch the whole year up. I can tell you that all 60 of these structures on the list, they are ready to go. They've had the services called in. They've all got their non-compliance, letters. So again, we've got 60, actually I think 58 structures, and we will absolutely move as fast as we can to get those down. One other thing, even though we have 60 structures, I will say that a typical meeting, we take 4 to 5 structures is usually what, ends up on the list. So even though we have 60 right now, every month that we have a Buildings and Standards meeting, that list will grow. What we're trying to get it down to is that with the added money that we've got and the speed that we're able to do it, because, we're also doing in-house demolition, which has actually got us to the 51 structures. I believe that during that budget year that our abatement crew, I think they did 12 or 13 of those 51 structures. And we look at doing even more this year than we did last year as far as in-house. So with your extra money and with our extra ability, our extra resources with using city staff, we know that we're going to continue to add, but we're hoping that we can take them off faster than we can add them. So I just want to thank, you guys in particular as council. You've really made it a lot easier for code enforcement. The additional money that y'all have approved for demolition and then also lot mowing, we just really appreciate it. And I'll be happy to answer any questions y'all have.
Part of the timeline too is we have to also get in the contractor's schedule, and so the contractor does go from town to town to town. So we are not their sole town that they serve, and so I know other times I'll ask Mr. Talley, are we tearing houses down this month? Maybe no, because the contractor's over in Sulphur Springs or whatever. And then they come and hit us really hard for a little bit, and then they go somewhere else. So that's part of why we started doing some in-house ones so that we can keep it going and get more torn down.
Yes.
I had one quick question. Do you know on average how much, like you said, there was a dynamic process, right? We take off and then we add on. On average, do you know how many we would potentially have per year added on to the list?
I will tell you that number is shrinking. I would say between a normal year would be between 60 and 70, and I think we're getting that down to between 40 and 50. Okay. And it's just because, there's only so many substandard structures, and because we've just been steadily, as you see, 193 structures have been tore down in 4 years. So, and that's really, that's a lot. So we've already put a big dent in those. But obviously, whether it's from natural causes, we do have fires. There are some houses to where we know it's like they're really close. You drive by it one day and it's like, yep, there it is. There's the hole in the roof. The foundation slipped, something like that. So, I can't give you but my best answer is probably 40 to 50, coming up this year.
Awesome. Thank you.
And we hope it's just less and less and less. Because another great thing, and you guys have discussed, previously the 5 and 5 program, a lot of these lots are, some of the lots that they're building on, previously those are houses that have been demolished in the past.
Mm-hmm.
So, it just, it's a really good way to, help the process along as far as you're getting rid of a attractive nuisance, you're getting rid of a drain on your tax base, and you're, providing an ability for either a new land use or the current land use, which is, put another house back on it. So it's a really good process.
Well, I appreciate everything that you do. I know I've shared this story with a few of our colleagues, but we've had a lot of folks on the west side that have been very appreciative of the diligence that you guys put behind the work and demoing these homes. And so I know one citizen in particular was pretty happy about that near their church, that they had some pretty rough areas. So appreciate you working really hard on that.
Yep, and just to show that, the very last slide, just to give you an idea of the impact that demolishing these houses make. Both of these, you can see that, they're messed up. This was fire, this is unsecure, the whole back of the house had fallen off. And, afterwards, and it's night and day. And, this is from the demolition contractor, and this is from our work crew. And you can see in our work crew, they weren't 100% finished there, but you can see that like when we're done with the lot, they are ready for construction. I mean, they really look good. Our demolition contractors, can't say enough about them. I really can't say enough about our in-house group. They work very hard, and they take a lot of pride in their work as far as, the finished product of what it looks like. So, again, you can see the difference of what it makes.
Your guess, how many people actually pay for the demolition? How many lots are foreclosed on percentage-wise?
I would say percentage-wise that 90% are foreclosed on and nobody ever pays anything. Good rule of thumb is the main reason why it's here is because they probably have been abandoned. Sometimes the will was never probated. We'll have the kids call and say, listen, I've never even been to Paris. I have no idea what this property looks like. I want nothing to do with it. So even though it's in somebody's name, they have abandoned it. And a lot of it is the people just die.
Each demolition costs $3,000 to $5,000.
Yes.
A house, roughly. Yeah, I mean, more stories, the greater it goes up. I want to say it's around $4,000 to $6,000 roughly to tear a single house down. So, yeah, a lot of these do go unpaid. Some get paid. I mean, I do see those. City Attorney's Office processes those, and sometimes once in a while a new buyer will pay it. But a lot of them do end up being foreclosed on, and the liens go away. But at the same time, the community service has been served. So
yes. And that's the most important thing about this is we never look at it from a money standpoint. It's all about, the safety of the community. And he just hit it right on the head. I mean, we're there to, get these things out of the way and make our community, a safer place and also a more attractive place.
So after it forecloses, how much time do it take for it to go on the
Tax sale.
You're talking about after it's for a tax sale?
Yeah.
Well, the foreclosure is actually the tax sale. But that is, God, that is such a hard question because we have some of them that come up quicker than others. There's some in West Paris. They've been on there I've been in code enforcement for about 19 years. And there's a couple of lots that I can think right off of, like I say on West Campbell Street. We've been mowing those lots for 19 years.
This is all really done through our delinquent tax attorney, Mr. Pounders, and so there is a process involved, and it's sometimes about bundling properties, about is there an interested buyer or not. Sometimes is the property worth enough to cover the expense just yet? So, I mean, that's also a factor. So there's a lot of factors. I know Mr. Pounders has been meeting with some of you one-on-one. I encourage you all. He has a lengthy presentation that he can give you all if you'd like to learn more about the process. And it's very. I mean, since there's so many of the properties that are on the foreclosure, there's actually far more than they can get done in a single time. So they try to prioritize the ones that they believe will move and get into good hands. But if anyone would like to sit down with him who have not already, I mean, let me know, and we'll get you in front of him, and he'll walk you through the process.
And, speaking of process, when I asked you to, do this presentation quarterly, I appreciate it because I think our citizens need to have an update on the demos that's going on, because we heard a lot of that in the West Paris meetings, but you went the extra step and put the process out here, and I think that's great that you put the process out here so people will have an understanding of what y'all do, because I really don't think everybody has an understanding. So I appreciate that. And I don't know if I dreamed this up or if you and I talked about it, but didn't you tell me that we are ahead of our neighboring communities as far as demoing houses?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah.
Any time that I've ever reached out to any other cities, first off, I don't think that any city our size, I don't think they budget the resources like, you guys as a council have done, and, the commitment to doing it. But yeah, we just absolutely, I haven't checked in a year or so, but no, nobody's even close to us.
Well, it's good to know that we're, getting it done.
Yeah, when I
Appreciate
talk to my peers, I'll ask them, and they'll say, how many did you all do this year? 4 or 5. And they ask me, 50, 60, and so.
And that is the honest truth. My peers are other code enforcement supervisors or just code enforcement officers, and they're like, how in the world are you, getting this many done? And it's like, well, our council has made it a priority, and it's like, just follow state law, and you can, we as the city of Paris, we actually help other communities, get with the right process and the right way to do it, so.
And a big question we ask lots is, why does it take so much time? Well, I think as Mr. Talley has shown me, there is a statutory process we have to follow through publications, through notices, through meetings, for more notices, for postings. It takes a long time, and then the code enforcement department, they're also handling rubbish, mowing. There's a lot of things on their plate, and so they don't dedicate their 100% of their time to this. So they're trying to balance it all, and sometimes these things take a long time. And then once it gets on the list, again, there may be other priorities ahead of that one. So a citizen may turn it in, and it may take a year or 2 or 3 to get to that one. We're trying to get that number, trying to get that where it's much faster than that. But again, it just comes down to budget room, allotment of time that we have available with other issues. It's not as simple as turn it in, it's gone tomorrow.
We're just not holding you to this by no means, but we first started this a few years ago to really ramp it up. What's the just rough timeline to being kind of caught up with that list? Is that another year and a half?
Honestly,
is there 5 or 10 more getting on the list every month, or is it like?
That's typically, yes, that is typically what it's been. It's usually 4 to 5 a month is usually what goes on. But that is down from 7 or 8. We are steadily getting this number down, but honestly, at the speed that we're moving right now, and then also that's actually going to get faster. And again, Mr. Path brought up something very important. Our outside contractor, they do work in other places, but when they're here, they are on it. Like you saw 16 structures in 3 months. That's a good lick.
Yeah.
What hurts our crew is that, the way we have to demolish it, we can't get it out of the landfill. When it's muddy, we just get stuck. So we mainly do most of our demolition when it's dry. But, you know, we have 60 on the list right now, and if you're looking if we can get another 50 to 60 done, and I'm saying, you know, I've even got more money this year, so we should be able to do more than 51. You're steadily going to see that number come down, and the overall goal is like Mr. Path said, sometimes it's 2 to 3 years because of either prioritization or just the list was so big. Well, as we start hitting those down, you know, what our goal is going to be is instead of a 2-year wait time, it's a 6-month wait time. You know, and that would be a very realistic number as far as that, you know, once we get caught up, that within, you know, 6 to 8 months, that house is going to be gone instead of 2 years or 3 years.
Will we go from a backed up list to more of a management list?
Exactly.
In a few years, probably, it would be
Well,
more
I mean,
realistic.
like, yes, like right now, we are actually demolishing houses from the 2023 list. Now, some of those is because of prioritization, but this past year and then this year is the first year that I've really ever been able to say that because we were still working on 2 years prior to, unless, again, it was something that was just so terrible that, hey, we've got to get that right now.
And I'll jump in. I'll just say that, I mean, this is a rather complicated process, and each house is its own challenge, and so a lot of, I mean, weather plays implications with individuals living there. So, but as houses become unoccupied, we try to chase after those while they're vacant.
Just thinking of the pipeline of the ones that we have that are in the litigation process or the ones that we're about to start litigating, and you don't, if you don't have it tonight, because it's kind of off the subject a tiny bit, but do we have, you know, is there 1,200 or is there 500 or how many out there in the future that were pipeline, I guess is what I'm saying, future, is there a number on that? Do we know?
I don't know.
Probably don't know it after the housing study.
Are you talking about actual
Dilapid-
structures that need to be,
I just, okay.
I will tell you that, you know, I'll drive up and down every street, and I know I miss some every once in a while. But again, with our code enforcement staff and other city staff turning them in, plus the citizens calling them in, you know, we're finding, you know, 4 to 6 or 7, you know, monthly. Mm-hmm. And used to, we would find, you know, 20, but we would only take 12 or, you know, 10 because they didn't want the meeting running until, you know, 8 o'clock at night.
And given our criteria, I mean, if we're talking about holes in roofs, I mean, we may look at a house and then 1 month, the next month, it's having to fall in. So it's hard for us to know how many are actually just sitting there ready to be on the list because until it actually opens up,
when we first
literally we won't see
first
it.
talked about it, I think we were talking like it was going to be a 10-year deal, but it sounds like to me maybe we're moving. I don't know. There may be still 300 or 400 out there. I don't know.
And one of my recommendations from after the West Paris Town Hall is one of the recommendations we made in that report is to continue to put more money at this. This is really a factor of just more money. Because houses cost what they cost to tear them down, and given the quantity, it just takes more money to get them done faster. It's not nothing we can do staff-wise to make it more efficient because it costs what it costs when the money runs out. That's usually been the limiting factors when money runs out. Mm-hmm. So the more we throw at it, the more our contractor and our own staff will eat that up and get more houses torn down. So it will be my recommendation next fiscal year, budget it, depending on how the numbers shake out, to add a few more thousands or tens of thousands to the number to help get more houses down.
Great progress. Thank y'all.
So, Robert, how many different contractors are we using? Are they all out of town, demolition contractors?
Currently, we use one contractor. We put out for bid a 3-year contract. Our current contractor is Sanitation Solutions. I will tell you, they've been our contractor probably for the last 10 or 12 years. They beat all the other contractors. The fact that we signed a 3-year contract, I've seen, because when I first started code enforcement, it was a yearly contract. Offering the 3 years, we do get a better rate because, you know, they're guaranteed that it's like, hey, we've got your city for 3 years. So, but yeah, we have one outside contractor, and then we have our in-house, which is our code enforcement abatement crew.
And it all goes to our local landfill?
Yes, Blossom Prairie.
Okay.
Yes, it has to, so.
So when they're working in other towns, what is that delay, and is that a part of our contract as to that they need to get to it within a certain length of time?
I believe that there is, and I'm sorry, I can't remember right off the top of my head. There is some language in there that it basically, if they don't do a certain amount, that they have to pay us money back. We've never had to hold them to that because, like, if they, let's just say that, you know, right now they're demolishing houses. Well, in February, they moved off to Royce City, or just name a city, Clarksville. Usually when they get back, they surpass their requirement anyway. So, you know, it's always been an ebb and flow. You know, we've never, it's like Mr. Path said, it's usually about budget. It's usually not about, are they here? It's just about whenever we run out of money.
We're not waiting on them a long time.
No.
Okay.
All right, are there any other questions? Thank you, Mr.
All right,
Townsend.
thank
That was
y'all.
a great presentation. All right, item number 19, consider and approve future events for the city council and our city staff pursuant to resolution number 2004-081. Does anyone have anything?
No, sir.
All right, item number 20, do I hear a motion and a second for adjournment?
So moved.
Second. We are adjourned. That goes very quick.